Hey everybody, my name is Azalea and you are watching my YouTube channel, Way Crunchy. One of the things I love to talk about here on YouTube is homeschooling my son, Tom. He is currently in the 2nd grade and I've been making homeschool videos here on this channel since Tom was back in preschool. Are making our own curriculum. People often have questions about that, like what curriculum do you use? I make it our own. We are largely child-led, and we would very closely fall into the category of unschooling, though maybe not strictly. What I have to share right now about our 2nd grade journey is where I think we're really nailing it. History. I'm going to show you our folder system, which I use for every subject. It's key to stay organized. So this is our 1st grade history folder, and this is our in progress 2nd grade history folder. We are currently in January of 2nd grade. We typically homeschool year round, but just to kind of give you a ballpark of where we're at compared to a traditionally schooled child. So the reason I think we're nailing this is the legwork I put in before 2nd grade started. I created a YouTube playlist, which you can go look at. It's free, I'm not selling anything. It's just really good and it's been really successful for us. I put in a lot of time creating an overview of United States history that is accessible to children or adults, through colonial times through 1900. One reason that our history studies have been super successful is that I went in and I studied and I refreshed my memory and I educated myself before I went in to educate my son. Second of all, riding around the car is kind of like dead time, okay? Like anytime you have any period of your day where you're riding in a car, for me, I can hit that history playlist. Now, watching a YouTube playlist is not going to be enough to give you a great overview of history, but we go back through and we create a mini project on everything that we cover, which is what I'll show you in this folder. We also pick up a few very minimal extra resources from our library. We live in Virginia, we've got a lot of historic resources around here, especially the beginning of the country, and very, very, very tiny bit of printables. I'm not a printable homeschool mom. Save a tree, y'all. First thing I'm going to show you is the little bit of a foundation of where we were at in 1st grade last year. So this was last year's United States history. 1st grade. We read a book. We did not have a playlist last year. We read a book about George Washington. Learned about George Washington. Tom graded himself. I wrote down questions. I asked him comprehensive questions about what he read, and then I wrote down his answers. We read a book about Paul Revere. I wrote down questions. I wrote down Tom's answers. We read another book, Secrets of American History, Revolutionary War, the Founding Fathers were spies. So we got Paul Revere, we've got George Washington, we've come across to Ben Franklin. This is us just reading some historic books, looking at some key figures, getting an idea of what the past was like. We read another one on Benjamin Franklin, and we read one more about Benjamin Franklin, and that was 1st grade history. It was great. We got an idea of what history was. Now, the reason I brought you here today is 2nd grade history, where we've really been nailing it. I will show you his reports, but first I'll show you what we use in addition. I just have a chart of all of the presidents, all of the first ladies. So if you go through history president by president, you're getting things in chronological order and you can fill in the history around each of these administrations. One of the things that bothers me when I look at the SOLs of history for elementary children is that history is not covered chronologically. I think that's very confusing. I absolutely believe in covering history chronologically. So that's one thing you'll see that I do stick to. Okay, well, who's next? Let's go through it. We pick up some resources from the library, picture books. Sometimes we don't even read the book, but we've got the images to go with who we're talking about, who we're watching videos about. We're about to cover the Trail of Tears. We've read this entire book, cover to cover, and it gives us some good images. Here's one about North America. Geography is something I also cover in history this year. Now, where we're at with our history notebook. Everything we learn, we make a little record. Maybe not every little thing, but an overview of what we've learned is covered by reports. We started reading a book about Christopher Columbus and started some map work of understanding North America. Important things like Columbus absolutely captured slaves and sold people. So that is something that's overlooked in history. We looked at the Santa Maria, type of ship it is, a caravel, the Penta, and the Nina, now ships. And then we looked just at the United States map.
Mama.
Hey, Zizi.
Oh, good.
What am I doing? I'm making a video about Tom's history work. What do you have?
Jack Box.
Jack in the Box.
Hi.
We looked at the capital of the nation. We looked at our very own state, Virginia. We looked at the capital of Virginia. And then we started in on our president projects. We got George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. We took a little field trip to one of his homes that's right near where we live. Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark, Corps of Discovery, James Madison, First Lady Dolly Madison. Then we looked at the equator, the North Pole, the South Pole, just getting a lay of water and land, Earth, Prime Meridian, and the equator. On to James Monroe. And there's a picture of James Monroe, who's actually in the famous picture with George Washington. Anywho, now we have John Quincy Adams. And this week we'll be doing Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears. History is sad and evil, and I don't leave any of that out. And we'll start thinking about continents. That's where we're going next. So I do not teach history all year round. We did a spell of history. Then we did a spell of science. Now we're back on a spell of history. Tom can name all the presidents up to John Quincy Adams. I'm pretty stoked about that and his general knowledge of history. So that's where we're really nailing it this year. And we're going to go on through 1900. It's a bit ambitious to think we're going to get through 1900 by the end of second grade, but we'll definitely, absolutely be through it by the end of third grade. Absolutely. So that's a little peek into what we're learning in history for our second grade homeschooling. Holler at me if you got any questions or awesome tips. Bye, y'all.
Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below.